Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Weston Martinez coming to you live from the socialist capital of Texas, otherwise known as San Antonio. And we're so excited to have a nice little sunset behind us. I wanted to just let you guys tune in here for just a second. We got lots of people joining in. So we'll let you guys jump in here and we'll get a little live video going, and we'll bring you up to speed on what we know, what's happening, some of the boil bans that are in place, and what's going on with our good friend Joe Biden coming into Texas here in the next couple of days. We know that he took time to not do anything until just recently, so I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. And appreciate your time. We'll just give people a minute to jump on here. So thank y'all. Oh, we got people tuning in from different parts of the state. Y'all share this live video. If for some reason you haven't liked my YouTube channel yet, feel free to like that on there. We've got some different videos that happen through there as well. And we're going to do this here in just 1 second as everybody else finishes getting on. Alrighty, there we go. We got more people coming. All right. Glad to see you guys here. So while we're getting started, you guys put a message on there about where you're from. Most of y'all know where you're from. This way other people can see you. And we'll get going. So again, we've got some great updates from the state of Texas. What's going on with all of the news you're not going to hear reported in all these other locations, how this is going to impact you, and what else you should be looking for. So again, it's Weston Martinez coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas, and we've obviously been in the middle of everything that's going on as it relates to this ice storm, snowstorm, winter freeze, all of the things that have come back. And if you didn't catch our program this morning at 12:30, one of the things we talked about was how many of the generators that are here in Texas or here in the United States actually came from China. And I also asked which city in China is one of the cities that manufactures power generators for the state of Texas. So I'll give you guys a chance to guess at that, because I know everybody's been busy with a lot of different things. But again, it's Weston Martinez. Hope you guys are doing good. If you drive by Buc-ee's, remember, Weston works for you, and I'm always fighting voter fraud, and I'm voting to keep Texas, Texas. As y'all know, I'm pro-life, pro-gun, pro-family, pro-Israel. So we're excited about you joining on, and we'll give you some more feedback. But again, today we talked about what city in China is manufacturing generators that are coming to Texas. Put your notes down there, and we'll let you know if you're right or wrong. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. So just a few more seconds, and we'll finish on with this live broadcast and move forward. The one good thing about it being cold is that I don't know if Joe Biden can find Texas, Scott. That's a good question. But we've got a lot. I'm sure that the freeze that we dealt with right now probably helped us in not having voter fraud. So good Lord, 5 days of no voter fraud. Man, imagine what happened in this state. I will tell you that I took a pretty bad spill. I tore my knee up pretty good, and went to college on a bull riding scholarship, and I'm still pretty flexible. And at any rate, it was quite interesting to watch me get on the mend, and had to wrap my knee and been dragging my leg for a couple of days. We're finally getting there. So those of you guys that are just tuning in, right now we're talking about guessing which town in China is responsible for building power generators in the state of Texas. In the United States. Golly. I will tell you that there is a new power generator that got built and was installed in Houston recently, Las Vegas, and one other city, can't recall it right now. But for those of y'all watching, Wuhan, China. Wuhan, China has a electrical power generator manufacturer, and they built power plants that come into the United States. In the last, probably the last 8 or 9 years, from what I can see, we've had over 200 power generators that have been moved into the United States from China. And China currently manufactures about 60% of the world's generators. So it's a pretty big situation. So anyway, for those of y'all just tuning in, it's Weston Martinez. Thanks for following our YouTube channel as well. We're talking to you today about ERCOT. We're talking today about boil bans. We're talking today about what went wrong and how China is actually building a lot of power generation in the United States. So the first thing I want to tell you guys is that number one, Wuhan, China is building power generators. Number two, the CPS Energy and the energy companies of the world of Texas are trying to figure out how they can take the expense or the load that they purchased, the electricity they purchased, and turn around and how they can get us to pay it without causing everybody to have a revolt. So what CPS is talking about is taking that electricity and dividing it over 10 years and having your rates increase for 10 years in order to get that turned up and get that expense divested. Now, of course, there's good and bad with that. The other part of the issue is that the governor is calling for an investigation, a special session, things like that. I will tell you that I have gone out there and said that, yes, the governor should call for a special session to deal with this, but he should not take it up in the middle of the session. Here's why. The Public Utilities Commission of Texas is what is the regulating body of ERCOT. And that organization is the group that is going to do the investigation of all of the metadata, so they can go in there and look at who was off, who was on, why were they off. A lot of these electric companies, they play the market so they can actually keep their rates low for the ratepayers, maintain profitability for them. And a lot of them, we're going to find out, were they playing the market, and is that why they were out of power? Did they not winterize? Or did they also... Oh, look, here's a site. Look at that. Man. People liking that, aren't they? And all you guys were mad about seeing so many trucks on the road. At any rate, so what we see happening is that the Public Utilities Commission is going to find out and request all kinds of information from all these energy companies to find out if their problems that they had were self-inflicted or were they truly catastrophic by a weather event. So we'll see what happens there. But the governor should go ahead and say that he's going to call a special session, and that we'll deal with the results of the investigation from the Public Utilities Commission at that time. Because again, it's going to be so much data. People don't understand the grid or the market as it is. So, this is a chance for us to actually go in there and get the data arranged, get the raw data compiled, make it public for everybody to see, and then move forward. I do think that going forward, the Public Utilities Commissioners in Texas should be elected statewide officials, and that's something that needs to take place. Or, break it up into 4 regions and have those people represent those 4 regions across the state of Texas. Either way, that's part of what needs to get done. Boil ban, let me kind of get to that real quick. The boil ban in San Antonio has been lifted. What they're asking you to do is just kind of run your water a little bit, because you might have a little bit of buildup in there. And I don't have that information for all the rest of the parts of the state. So you can look at TCEQ website if your local water company has not updated their website. In these smaller areas, the larger state agency might have their stuff updated quickly because they've got staff there to do that. And these water companies, public water supply companies, have reporting responsibilities that they have to submit. So as we move forward to a clear night here in Texas, we just want to thank all of our first responders, thank all of the individuals that have been out there in harm's way, our tow truck drivers, all these individuals that have been doing a good job and a great job to keeping Texans safe. And as we move through these next weeks and months and unpack kind of what really took place here, it's gonna be a very interesting time. So you guys watch for more updates. Again, it's a lot of technical updates to explain, and we're trying to unpack it as succinctly as possible. Again, broad bullet points. CPS Energy is looking at taking the increase in electrical charges that is going to be passed down to the ratepayers, and they're looking at dividing it over the course of 10 years. We did have a big electrical power plant here in the San Antonio region, STP1, that actually went in there, and because the water was unable to be online, the power generator would not turn on. See, these generators get real hot. They generate a lot of steam. If you've been out to some of these lakes where there's steam shooting out, lots of times it's water being used to cool the generators, and the steam is not necessarily being used to generate any kind of thermal, but instead it's just being used to go in there and make make everything stay cool. Well, so the question is, why didn't saws have backup generators on the electrical diesel generators to keep those water pumps running? And if they did that, then the power plant would have stayed online. So that's part of what we're going to be unpacking these next couple of days. And we've got different folks that because being a utility engineer for a long time, working in the Public Utilities Commission space, there's a lot of things that we've talked about. And in fact, when I first ran for city council way back in 2005, one of the things that we talked about was securing our infrastructure, and realizing that unsecure infrastructure is a threat, and securing it from the weather and also securing it from outside forces. San Antonio is military city USA. It wouldn't take very much to bring us to our knees if you knew the right utility pressure points to push. And the same thing takes place, Fort Hood, again, go down the list. Texas is a target-rich environment for anybody that wants to do bad. But as we move forward, we need to stay informed. We need to hold our elected officials accountable. I will tell you that as a matter of fact, not as a matter of partisanship, that I sent a tweet to the Castro brothers earlier today, and advised them that their choices to remove us from the nuclear power plant located in South Texas, and their choices to help drive the shutdown of some of the coal fire plants that are here in San Antonio, has cost people, has really hurt people. I don't want to say that it's cost lives, but I think that it has. I know of an individual that went outside and slipped and fell, and is an older gentleman, and he slipped and fell, and nobody found him for a couple of hours, and he died because of exposure. For those of y'all just tuning in, this is Weston Martinez. Thank y'all for tuning in from all over the state of Texas, giving you an update on what took place here and around the state. And part of what we're letting people know about is the power generation. Most people have never been involved in the energy industry. I've been involved on the oil and gas side and also on the electrical generation side. So I will tell you that In this case, the interesting fun fact of the night was what city in China is helping to manufacture power generators that are here in the United States of America. And we advised you earlier that it is no other than Wuhan, China. We thought we were going to get that place out of our lives, and well, we haven't. China creates and provides about 60% of the generators that have been made and deployed in the United States over the last 8 to 10 years. And that enumerates into about 200 power generators that were installed here in the United States. And we have to, again, there's questions being raised about, did they have anything in there to trigger these things and not tripping or something like that? And, ladies and gentlemen, there's too much going on right now just to get this thing, figured out. I'm sure, we can get to those kind of questions later on. But right now, the nuts and bolts of it are that CPS Energy, one of the biggest utility companies in the United States of America, lost power to STP1, which is a major power generation station here in the South Texas area. Their power generator shut off because the SAW water supply system the pumps that went to that power generation system, the water shut off. Why did the water shut off? They had no electricity. So wait a minute. So the water wasn't working, so the electricity couldn't get made because the electricity wasn't working, the water wasn't working. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. There's a symbiotic relationship between power generation, water, and electricity. I learned this in the oil and gas business when we drilled the biggest, deepest water well in South Texas, and learned very quickly about that relationship. Now, ratepayers, one of the questions that's coming up is, what are we going to do with all this extra cost that's been added to our environment, to our situation, because of the fact that, people are having to buy this on the futures market. So when you buy it on the futures market, you've got to purchase it at the price that it's in. So ERCOT has this set where they can go up as high as $9,000 per megawatt hour. And that means to you, the ratepayer, that's 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, here's the thing. That's the wholesale rates, ladies and gentlemen. Wholesale rates for a power purchase agreement can vary between 3 and 5%. 3 and 5 cents is kind of just to equate it out. So now you stop and think, if you've been paying electricity and the wholesale rate's been 3 to 5 cents, and the wholesale rate is going to double, and in some cases triple, what is that going to do to your bill at your house on your meter? And this is a very real thing. CPS is already scrambling to talk about actually spreading this out over 10 years. But again, it's a failure on multiple levels. I will tell you that Joe Biden issued executive orders that by putting us back into the Paris Climate Accord and some of the things that he did there, forced generators in Texas to be offline, because if they were online, we would exceed the attainment threshold set for us by folks like the EPA, the North Electrical Council, the North Electrical Generation Council, and some of those different places. So it's just such a complex situation that we're unpacking pieces of it at a time. Again, thank God we're moving forward. Thank God we're coming out of this. Clearly, we have to have a big change in the way that the business is done. And we have to move our country forward, move Texas forward, because we have to protect Texas. Texas first. We're from Texas. If we can't protect Texas, we can't protect the United States of America. I have a lot of my friends that are like, hey, we should secede. Great idea. How are we going to be able to provide electricity for ourselves? So this is some of the things that, when we talk about what's going on, we need to truly be in the light and understand that investing in commercially viable resources is the only thing we need to do. So when I say commercially viable, I don't care if it's taking ducks flapping their wings that generates electricity. If it's commercially viable and better than what we got, that's where we should put our money. But in this case, if you want to talk about justification for oil and gas companies, you have to realize that they have passed the test time and time again. And Keith, good to see you. God bless you, man. Love you too, buddy. We're all fighting this together. We can't do it alone, and there's so much data to unpack. It's just truly it's daunting. But we have to have people that recognize that in Texas or any other state, that it is the people's government and it is not the government's people. And there are lots of people that are scratching their head and asking themselves, how did we get here? We'll continue to unpack this and other complex things for you, whether it's complex because of the minutia or complex because of the organization. But again, appreciate you guys being involved. Again, just to kind of recap, the city in China that manufactures generators that come into the United States is none other than Wuhan, China. China generates approximately, say hello, Victor.
Hello.
China generates, we've purchased, our country has purchased about 200 generators from China in the last 8 to 10 years, making up about 60% of the total new generators that are put online. And as stated earlier, the Castro brothers direct assault on shutting down coal plants here in San Antonio and shifting that ledger in the line item of the budget to solar is another contributing factor. Again, there's not going to be one singular person to blame in this situation. This is a catastrophic event that honestly showed the weakness of all parts of our process, all parts of our grid, and honestly shows you how strong Mother Nature really is. And if you think that there's not a God out there, tell me how you did with electricity for 3 days. And if you didn't have peace in your heart about what was going on, then you might ought to consider getting Christ into your heart. That way you know that even if you're in the lights, even if you're in the dark with no one around, that you're not alone. So again, we're going to go ahead and sign off now. Great South Texas day today, and a lot of more information we'll be bringing to you over the next couple of days. Follow my YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook, social media at Weston Martinez. And we just want to say to all you're praying for you, God bless you. You're not in this alone, and we certainly are in this together. So this is Weston Martinez signing off. Have a great day, and God bless you, and God bless Texas.